Welcome into the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Wyman Wheeler, and we are less than 3 weeks from the start of the NFL season where the back-to-back champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, will take on the Baltimore Ravens at Arrowhead. Now, with the days until football's glorious return dwindling down, I thought it's time to put pen to paper and predict where the AFC West teams will land by the end of the year. I'm not going to waste any time. Let's dive into it, starting with the Las Vegas Raiders. So, last year, the Raiders, they finished in second place in the division. They went 8-9 under the interim head coach Antonio Pierce. Now, they were 15th in total defense, about middle of the pack in the league. They were 12th in passing D and 21st in rushing D. Now, as far as the offense goes, it's hard to get a real offense going when AOC is your starting quarterback and when you start the first several games with Jimmy G. So they finished 27th in total offense. They were 23rd in passing and 30th in rushing offense. Now, they were active in free agency this year. They had some key additions, the main one being Christian Wilkins, who the Raiders got from the Dolphins on a 4-year, $110 million deal, a monster deal for Wilkins. I believe he's not quite yet 30. I believe he's 27 or 28. He had 9 sacks last year for the Dolphins, so he could be a really effective player next to Max Crosby on the line. I just worry about he is getting up there in age, so we'll see how that pans out for the Raiders. And new QB in town, Gardner Minshew. Everyone loves Minshew. They got him from the Colts on a 2-year deal, and right now he is listed as the starter on the Raiders' most recent depth chart. So it looks like Minshew Mania is going to be taking over Las Vegas. Now, what did they do in the draft? Well, their main new addition was Brock Bowers, the tight end who they drafted in the first round, and they also got quite a bit of O-line help in the draft. A couple of key losses to note: Josh Jacobs, the one-time NFL rushing leader, signed with the Packers in the offseason after the Packers shipped off Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams. He's still on the team. He is just no longer there in spirit. I think he checked out a long time ago last season. So, where do I have them finishing in the division? So, I went through the games. I looked at the wins and the losses, where I think the team will get an absolute win, an absolute loss. And I had their floor at about 6-11. So, losing record. But a big turnaround on their ceiling. I think if they perform expertly, nothing goes wrong, everything goes according to plan, they could finish at 11-6. I see that for the Raiders. However, I think the Raiders will finish last in the division. I think the curse of Kermit, if you know, you know, is going to dwell over them the entire season. So I am predicting a bit of a disaster for the Raiders this year. I have them 4th in the West with a 4-13 record. Good luck, Raiders. Moving on to the Broncos. Now, last year they were 3rd place in the division. They also went 8-9. They were just right there with the Raiders, but they lost in a tiebreaker with them. So, how did they do? What were their numbers? Well, they were 29th in total defense, 22nd in passing defense, and 30th in rushing defense. So, real low on the defensive side. And on the flip side, offense, 26th in total offense. They were 24th in passing and 18th in rushing offense. So, moving on to the key additions, they were having a lot of struggles in free agency. They didn't make any big splash signings. They made several smaller signings to just kind of fill out the depth. They're bringing in Brandon Jones from Miami in at safety to try to replace the loss of Justin Simmons. Josh Reynolds from Detroit is here on a 2-year deal. And Lil Jordan Humphrey is also back with Sean Payton on a 1-year deal. He's actually the 4th former Saint to join the Sean Payton Broncos. Interesting fun fact there. Now, the draft. Bo Nix, supposedly Sean Payton's favorite QB of the draft this year. Although, if you ask me, that seems a little disingenuous given Caleb Williams was in this draft. But it's all talk. Sean Payton loves to talk. Take that for what you will. Bo Nix did impress in the first preseason game and is currently listed as the starter. So really the season just depends on what they see out of Bo Nix. They will ride and die by the hand of Bo Nix. Now, some key losses. As I previously mentioned, Justin Simmons is now playing with the Atlanta Falcons, and Jerry Jeudy, called this a positive or a negative for the Broncos, is now with the Browns. So, moving on to my prediction. I think the Broncos' floor is a low 6-11, but their ceiling is a 10-7. Again, if everything goes right for them. My prediction, I have them in third place with a 7-10 record. They get just enough out of Bo Nix to keep him as the long-term starter for the future, but we'll see what happens from there. Now, moving on to the Chargers. Last year, the Chargers were the basement dwellers of the division with a 5-12 record. Everything went wrong for them last year. They were 28th in total defense. They were ranked 30th in their passing defense, and the rushing defense was ranked 17th. Now, on offense, they were 18th, so a little bit higher, still middle of the road, but higher. Their passing offense was ranked 13th in the league, and the Chargers' run game was ranked 25th. Austin Eckler fell off hardcore last year. So, key additions. Obviously, everyone knows that Jim Harbaugh came in from Michigan after the national championship. What he's going to hope to do is bring in the winning culture that he seems to bring with him everywhere and an authentic personality at the head coaching position. And, well, he won't constantly put the game in jeopardy like his predecessor, Brandon Staley. As far as players goes, Gus Edwards from the Ravens signed a 2-year deal with the Chargers, and I suspect he will fit in nicely with Jim Harbaugh's run first, run second, and always mentality. They brought back Denzel Perryman, a former Charger, a former linebacker, back to the team. And in the draft, they made the boring choice, but the right choice. They drafted Joe Alt with their first-round pick rather than Malik Neighbors. They also brought in Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver out of Georgia. And I will note that all of the AFC West opponents went with offense first in the draft. Now, I like to imagine this is an attempt to keep up with the Chiefs' offense while also honoring their top needs, but I'm a little biased. I may be reading too much into it. Now, key losses. They lost their big three from the past couple of years, even back to the Phillip Rivers days. They lost Keenan Allen to the Bears, Mike Williams to the Jets, and Austin Eckler to the Commanders. Now, where do I have them in the division this year? If you're following with how many teams I've done so far, and we still have the Chiefs left, you probably know where this is going to go. But I see their floor being 7-10, but their ceiling could be as high as 14-3. I'm not the biggest believer in Jim Harbaugh, but I do believe he is a huge improvement over Brandon Staley, and I'm predicting that he will have this team better than they've been, at least in the Justin Herbert era. However, the Chargers know nothing but pain. My prediction, they will have a winning record of 11-6. Yes, go Chargers. They will be the 8th seed, and they will miss the playoffs. Pain, pain, pain. Chargers gonna Charger. Moving on to what everyone is here for, the reigning defending 2-time Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, last year, everyone knows, they ranked first place in the division, as per usual. They were 11-6 the year, had a lot of ups, a lot of downs. For the regular season, it was mostly downs, but we all know they ended up at the top of the pack. So, how did last year go? Well, defense was outstanding. They ranked second in total defense. They were 4th in passing defense and 17th in rushing. So, passing defense was great thanks to L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, and all those guys in the backfield. But the rushing defense was 17th, so middle of the pack. Now, on offense, everyone said, oh, they're so bad, the wide receivers can't catch. They still ranked 9th in total offense. They were 6th in passing offense and 19th in rushing. And given the year that we had, honestly, those numbers seem surprising. But moving on to the key additions to the team, we got Hollywood Brown from the Cardinals. And with that addition, we hope to have a 1,000-yard receiver back with the Chiefs. We had a lot of re-signings this offseason. Chris Jones, Drew Tranquill, Mike Dana, Tershawn Wharton are just a few players who signed new deals with the team. And in the draft, we had a pretty impressive draft. We added Xavier Worthy in round 1, the fastest player in the league after setting a record-breaking 40 time at the combine. Jaden Hicks is in at DB. We got Kingsley at tackle and more picks spent on the offensive line and a few other picks as well. We did have a couple of losses this offseason. Donovan Smith MVS, Nick Allegretti, Willie Gay, Jerick McKinnon, and most notably and sadly for a lot of people, L'Jarius Sneed signed with the Tennessee Titans. We were unable to tenure him. Now, this is going to sound very, very homery. I'm going to sound like a homer here. I'll cut to the chase. I see the floor is 12-5. I think that's the worst we can do. I think our ceiling is 17-0. I don't care what anyone has to say. I think after the disrespect we experienced last year, after going through some very legitimate struggles, some troublesome results, a couple of bad losses, I think after last year, the woes that we had, the hardship we faced, and then still winning the Super Bowl but not being satisfied by that regular season, Patrick Mahomes talking about not having any fun last year, I think this is going to be the best season in the Patrick Mahomes era. I really do. Now, I don't think we're going 17-0. I'm not going to say that, but my prediction is we go 15-2 in the best regular season we've had since 2020. We're going to be the 1 seed, and we will win the Super Bowl and accomplish the three-peat. But what do you think? How many wins do you see the Chiefs racking up this year? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I want to know what you think. If you want to keep up with me, you can follow me on Twitter at WymanWheel and follow KC Sports Report for more content and video updates. Now, if you want to see more predictions videos like this video, and subscribe to KC Sports Report here on YouTube for more Chiefs content. Until next time, thank you for watching, and go Chiefs.